Sullivan brought up on the Super Podcast the idea of Lance Russell taking over Jim Herd's job in WCW. Would Lance have been interested? And if so, what if? How soon does Lawler come in? Or is this just some tomfoolery because Lance didn't care to do such things?
No, I believe it might have, and he said Kevin Sullivan said it?
Yes, Sullivan said it when I talked to him about Lance on the Super Podcast. He brought up the idea that Lance was someone who actually was qualified to do what anyone was qualified to do what Jim Herd did. But Lance actually would have had the qualifications for a job like that.
Yeah, no, so I believe that Kevin had that idea because Lance would have had the qualifications for that job in terms of his extensive background in the wrestling business in general. He had never been involved in booking, but obviously he knew exactly what the fuck was going on, and he would have had a booking team. He had also been a major market network TV affiliate station manager, and also been an on-air personality. So he had every facet of the executive that should have been running the TBS wrestling company. But at that point in his life, I don't know that they would have possibly offered him enough money he took the job as a television announcer because it was more money than he had made, pretty much at that time. They were national television. It was more money than he'd made in Memphis, and he couldn't afford to turn it down. But good God, to basically move from his home or only be there for a day and a half in Memphis on the weekend and run that wrestling company. I don't know what they were paying Herd, but I think at that point, was Lance almost 70 then?
Geez, I don't know. He was in his 60s. I don't know if he was almost 70.
Well, hold on. When he just passed away this past year, and was he 92? So we can do math. 30 years ago. Okay, so he was almost retirement age. That was his. Basically, he was going to take those few years or whatever as an announcer, and the good contract, and then he and Audrey did retire to Florida. Would he have been interested in running the whole thing and the headache that would have taken on, and knowing he was about ready to retire to begin with? I don't know if he'd wanted to do it, is the point I'm making.
And remember, he took his first retirement in 1977 when he took his retirement from RKO.
Yes. RKO, HBQ.
HBQ, but wasn't HBQ owned by RKO?
FUCK, I don't. Whichever it was. But anyway, I think he would have been certainly more qualified than Jim Herd in all facets of the job that the person holding it should have been doing. Lance Russell would have been more qualified at that stage of his life and that close to retirement. Even for the money, would he have wanted to take on the headache that would have been? I do not know.
And I just looked it up. It was a part of RKO General, so yes.
All right, well, I didn't know who I didn't own stock in WHBQ Television. That's for Scott Bowden.
Scott Bowden actually just did WHBQ T-shirts. I don't know if you saw those.
I wonder if WHBQ knows about that. Sure, maybe Ixnay Ontday Elte the Isners lay.